So, we have two distinguished visitors from the Discovery Museum, Discovery Science Center with us today, Erika and Sarah. So I'm going to read a brief bio on each to have some background. So Erika Eng, EE, joined the Discovery team in 2016 and since then has worn many hats within the organization, from business operations director to COO, and most recently as executive director of the newly coined SHU Discovery Science Center and Planetarium. So I guess this is a new name, right? After graduating from SUNY New Paltz in 2004, she pursued a career in the aerospace industry as a sales executive until the birth of her son in 2012. Now mother of two, she's following her dream in the nonprofit sector. Her passions lie in leadership, community, inclusivity, and education. She currently is serving as chair of the Women's Leadership Network of Greater Bridgeport, on the executive board of directors of the BBRC, co-advisory board for the STEM ecosystem. 2022, she was awarded the BBRC Rising Star Award and is a proud alumna of LGB Class 30. As a child, she attended a museum magnet school in Yonkers and notes that experience as something that she draws on, giving a unique perspective on her current role. She's honored to work in that space now and be able to offer those same opportunities to students in the Greater Bridgeport region. The opportunities afforded to her in this space through the partnership with Sacred Heart University have led to new potential in the educational continuum, which she is looking forward to exploring. So we look forward to hearing about that. And now we have, I'll just pull it up, Sarah Tropp-Pacelli joined Discovery in 2015. So you joined more or less the same time, right?
Yeah, just about, yeah.
Yeah, we worked together as an educator, becoming director of education and strategy, and eventually director of development and data management. In each role, equity and accountability are her goals. Sarah assures all learners participate in the same high-quality programs and achieve equitable outcomes regardless of their school district, literacy level, accessibility needs, or other factors. Sarah holds a master's in teaching and foundations focused on science education. She participated in leadership learning labs from the Association of Science and Technology Centers, Leadership Greater Bridgeport, and Challenger Network Council, all of which provided opportunities to train in best practices in the inclusivity, equity, and impact measurement in nonprofit work. Cannot wait. Come.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Not super loud. I want to. If you can't, just give a shout. All right.
You can move the bell if you want to. Somebody move the bell for us.
Am I supposed to ring a bell?
It's important. Abby,
Okay.
you're more.
Thank you. Oh, because I'm too short. Got it. I'm like, what? Wow, we just want to thank you all so much for having us here today. This is an excellent opportunity. For us, we've never been able to really engage with the Lower Fairfield County Rotaries before, and it's just an honor to be able to be here and tell you all what we've done in the space of informal education up at the Science Center. How many people here have been to the Discovery Museum? You had to have in school. No?
No.
Not this one.
Not when I was in school.
It's not on Mars. It's right up the highway. Okay.
We went to the Bruce Museum in Greenwich.
That's fair. We're a little bit different though than the Bruce Museum.
Yes.
Okay, well, so for those of you that did see it in its previous iterations, you know the Discovery Science Center the museum's been around since it was the Museum of Art, Science, and Industry since the late 50s. Incorporated and opened in 58. Doors officially opened in 60, I think. 62. And so, Park Avenue used to be raised up here, and it was just an on-off basically for students at Sacred Heart, right? There was like nothing to do in there. And now it's a really vibrant part of the North End that brings together Bridgeport, Fairfield, Trumbull, Easton, Reading. It's all in this little hub right there. So it's really kind of up and coming. So thanks to, in large part, to Sacred Heart. Essentially, well, let's see. Oh yeah, that's on there. So you want to skip to the next. A little bit about that partnership. So Sacred Heart University has been doing a lot of prospecting and acquisition in the area, but they did not purchase us. We are an independent 501c3 organization. They did partner with us. At the onset of COVID, unfortunately, the museum had shuttered and would not have reopened like a lot of its partner organizations in the area because it just didn't have any resources, unfortunately. It had been, there are a whole host of reasons, from management and leadership right on down to just no resources, and everybody had different ideas. It took something like a pandemic to close it, a partnership with a university, and somebody to come along, which there was an interim director that came to do that in partnership with the previous director, and they just cleaned house and made it a blank slate so that we could reopen and meet the needs of the growing population in the area and the increased educational applications, obviously, in our education system. And what we do is an informal education, so we support everything that happens in the local education system. That's what we do. But now, because of Sacred Heart University, they've taken over our landscaping, they've taken over our janitorial, and a large chunk of our facilities improvements. So what that means to us is, I don't have to pay $15,000 a year for a plow to come. I don't have to pay for someone to come and mow the lawn. I don't have to pay for our toilets to be cleaned. All of it, that increased our ratio. So now we're squarely in the 80-20 range, where it's really probably closer to 86 at this point, percent of donations that come to support our programming go directly into programming because I don't have to pay somebody to plow. So I think that's better than them buying us, right? That allows us to keep doing what we're doing and allows us to perpetuate our charitable works and support in the educational continuum by taking their pre-service educators, their engineering students, their business students, and having them come and intern. So we have this holistic thing that's happening there, and it's proving to be really fruitful. So we're in year 3. We've really started to maximize and exploit those opportunities, and what we're seeing is growth that we could have never. We exacted a 5-year strategic plan in 3 and had to hire people, which is a problem that museum has never had before. So this is a very exciting time. So what that means is we've increased capacity. We've increased what we're doing impact-wise for the local community in Bridgeport, but it really means that we have now the capability and resources to develop this next level programming that all of our students in Lower Fairfield County will have access to this. We're setting new bars in the space of STEM and STEAM learning. And this is something that's going to be crucial for workforce development, economic development, everything that's happening in this region. So it's a really exciting time to be part of this. And we do it in a very hands-on, super accessible way. So everybody can get their hands on this stuff. And it's also a tourist attraction. So we do have a great many people that come through during the holidays, folks heading up to Vermont for the ski season, folks that head up to Massachusetts in the summer, Rhode Island. People stop all summer long at our facility. So we're seeing this increase in all different, so we've started to capture data. We've started to capture zip codes and really finding out who all is coming to Discovery and who hasn't been coming to Discovery. Next slide, please. So this is just our mission statement, and on your tables you'll find a copy of our annual report, so you can go through all of this stuff. I'm not going to read from slides, it's not what I do. But it boils down to STEAM for all. Nobody should be without access to these things, but where we are situated in Fairfield County, we need to be better. We need to be better than everybody else. Our schools are fantastic. That's why I moved here. I think it's an incredible opportunity for us to set the bar, and then the added benefit is we're also able to offer that to folks Bridgeport and Bridgeport adjacent that may not have those opportunities otherwise. And it's really doing great things for the whole region in general, right? Sort of let's say, blurring sort of some of those nasty edges that I think have been, following Bridgeport around for a while. And there's certain places like education where we get in on the ground level and we're able to offer these things and teach students what it means to interact with a museum, what it means to interact with culture and arts and science and technology and math, and it's fun and you can get your hands on it. And we give you an opportunity to put your hands on it, and that's what creates the wrinkle. That's what creates the neural pathway, essentially, which allows you to start thinking critically in those spaces. And a lot of our schools just don't have, especially with the new curriculums coming down from state level, I'm sure everybody here has had to do math with a child. In any recent year, it's impossible because they're teaching it all so differently now, and they're really pigeonholed into how their teachers are, rather. And the kids, they either get it or they don't. We offer an opportunity to learn a different way, and it's offered to everybody. So it's either going to drive home what the kids are learning for those who already get it, or it's going to give a different way to get your hands around it and your mind around it for those that are having trouble absorbing it. Yes?
Could you give an example of how the way you teach math is different from the state?
Yeah, so we don't teach it differently, but we support it. It's a good question, but it's an important distinction. Sarah, you could probably answer that question.
So the best example I can think of would be our Great Rocket Challenge program, where students are asked to form groups that they're going to say are companies, and each company is bidding for a NASA contract to launch the next NASA rocket. And so as part of their bid process, they actually have to work together to plan and then execute and track a budget that they're going to use as one of their engineering constraints as they build their rocket. And so it's not just asking them to do math for math's sake, it's giving them a real world application that helps them understand how the pieces come together. So it becomes something that's real for them.
What they're doing in this space is they're immersing themselves in a real life situation, right? In a mock situation, but they're forgetting that they're learning math and they're just trying to ideate and figure out the problem. But the biggest part of math is ideating and figuring out the problem. But you don't have to follow A, B, and C in order to get there. There's lots of ways to do it. All you have to do is open that neural pathway. Things like that, putting their hands on it, that's what causes the permanency for those dynamics and those concepts. So it
Actually, our next
creates a
slide has
conceptual reality.
another perfect example
That's
of
right.
where the math comes in as well.
That's right.
You want
We do, yeah, so our part of the reopening and reimagining process was to really upgrade our shiniest exhibit, which is the planetarium. And we actually have the same technology that the high school in New Canaan now has. And we've actually been working with them, and we're hopefully going to do some professional development with them to really maximize the technology that they have. That's a whole lot of technology for a school to have. So we're hoping we can. But one of our favorite things, and this came out of the partnership pipeline with Sacred Heart, is our planetarium director is now teaching as an adjunct professor physics through the lens of the universe in our planetarium. Now, if I learned it on roller coasters or dropping a penny from the top of remember a feather and a penny, right? I think I would have liked physics a whole lot more if I was learning it through the lens of the universe. So we're taking all of those principles and how they do apply to a feather and a penny when you drop them off a building, but it's principally based on how our actual universe functions. And by immersing the students in that, we're seeing an absolute increase in participation, questions. People are really engaged, and that equals impact. And so that's been a really big one. So that's a great question, and we could go on because we think math is just not taught the right way across the board. But I think those tools are just the start, right? We can find more ways to gamify and engage and get kids to wrap their brains around them and essentially trick them into learning because they're in it and they did it. And guess what? You just did physics. Who knew, right? They're just learning it a different way, and we're just positioning it a different way, but they're learning the same principles. So this is another one of our favorite tools. It's called Science on a Sphere. It has about, now we're almost up to 800 different data sets that are available for viewing in 360 degrees on our 5.5-foot sphere there. And all of those different data sets are from anything from old world maps to rising sea levels to protests across the country. We have traffic patterns, flight patterns, social media patterns. We're able to use this tool to integrate science, technology, engineering, arts, math with things like civics and literacy and all of those. So we're not taking time out of that learning. We're embedding STEAM into those other things, or vice versa, which is the way we like to look at it, but that's just because we're science nerds. So essentially what we're doing is we're giving, it's another, so if the planetarium is concave, this is a convex version of us to see the Earth, or whatever we turn it into, it can be any planet, in 360 degrees, and get a really good idea of like, oh, this isn't really next to this, but when it's flat, it looks like that, right? Someone just said it the other day, Hawaii and Alaska being next to each other. No, it's round. They're not next to each other. So I think there's like a lot of So, but I love that we can point things like that, right? We can point things out, and all of the data that we have comes from satellite data. So it's real time, and it's real imagery, and it is round. We assure you. We looked. It's round.
How does that work? Is it projected from the inside or the outside?
Good question.
So
yeah, it's four.
You can actually see in this photo a little bit.
Yeah, it's 4 laser projectors. They're in 4K, and it's on a 360 degree scrim-based sphere. So you can't see where it comes from. It looks like it's coming from the inside, but it's not. All right, and one of our other showpieces is our Challenger Learning Center. Now, a lot of people who have come to see us from generations gone by is because they went here in the 5th grade to do a Challenger mission, which essentially is we launch a rocket. So we have 2 pieces to this. We have our mission control, which is essentially Houston, right? And then we have our actual spacecraft. And in that spacecraft, you're immersing yourself as an astronaut, well, both sides, you're immersing yourself as an astronaut. But again, all of these missions, these simulated missions, absolutely 100% meet every mark of STEAM. It meets every standard that's coming through the science department in the public education system. But additionally, it's embedding soft skills, or what we're calling essential skills, which is your, communication, eye contact, being clear when you articulate something. They have to speak to each other, they have to use codes, they have to solve problems in order to ensure a successful launch of the rocket or landing, depending on which mission we're doing and for which age group. But this is a great key piece. We also do this with corporate leadership groups because they are sometimes the ones that need to work on their communication skills a little bit more. So we love that we are embedding it with the children, but the adults are the ones we got a lot of chiefs and not a lot of soldiers, So the kids, you'll see a natural leader emerge. It's a beautiful thing to watch, really, and the kids support and they communicate so differently when they're so serious and involved in this immersive environment. So again, just another way we can drive these things home, and we also can work it so that if there are interpersonal conflicts happening, we can ensure that they're forced to communicate in some way and build that up, because it's going to help in your classroom dynamic as well, or in your office place. So it's actually a really versatile tool, and we are looking at some upgrades coming in the near future for that as well. So. And then all of our exhibit galleries. This is actually a photo of one piece of our most recent exhibit called Wicked Plants, which is essentially a kind of like a whodunit murder mystery type thing. There's poisonous plants, carnivorous plants, and invasive species. And it talks a lot about, the dose makes the poison, even corn is poisonous, right? Even beans can be. There's all these different, but then, it talks about alcohol and drugs, and it's a really good teaching tool for middle and high school. And it's aligned with everything they're learning in health sciences right now. So we've been able to embed that, and we have teachers that are booking, even if they don't have time, especially in the middle and high school space, they don't have time to maybe go around the whole museum, or those kids are a little bit older, but this gallery is where they spend a lot of their time. So
it's like a fancy dining room, doesn't it? Like a
Yes.
museum.
it's an old Victorian house, but mock-up. So it kind of looks like this space actually, but it's just on our top floor. It's pretty cool.
It's a full 1-bed, 1-bath Victorian home, and as you move through the different rooms, you learn about these different types of plants and how they interact with the human body and human health.
And so you just solve all these little mysteries as you go through. It's pretty engaging. And even our little ones, we have a lot of signs, not for all the little ones, it's a little bit creepy, but they go home and talk about it, and then they want to come back, even though they're kind of afraid of it. We have a lot of parents, I don't know, who want to come back again. We're like, okay, if that's what you want. But I think it's helping them like sort of move through some of that. It feels like a haunted house, but it's not, but yeah.
One other thing to just mention is that our exhibits are constantly updating. So even though this is on display at the moment, anytime you come visit us, there's always going to be something new.
So that's one of the biggest downfalls of the previous iteration of the space, was that it just hadn't been updated really since since the early 2000s. It needed a makeover, but any other science center, any other museum, anything in the industry of arts and culture and tourism, it needs to change. It needs to be constantly upkept, or your members, what's the point of coming back, right? So we are now very on par with industry. We made a lot of changes due to COVID, which took sort of the hands-on piece away, and interactivity was the focus. And so we do a lot of things with, stylists now. A lot of things are digital, and we've made sure that in using that new technology, and thanks to Sacred Heart, who brought us fiber, we can have that technology now in our technology center. The setbacks of running a place like this is sometimes it's really hard to come by those things. They cost a lot of money. But now with different engagement that we have from different folks, we're able to keep those galleries fresh, and we're able to move along with the school system as well and keep that fresh as well. So they come back and they learn something new, or as those standards change, we meet them, because we're mostly already aligned with them, which is fantastic. But because we have that capability now, everything we do is in multilingual. Everything we do now, we just want a grant to put everything in Braille. And the Braille that we'll be doing is in a clear tape, so it's actually going to go right over the actual writing. So there's nothing separate, there's nothing different. Anybody and everybody can come and interact with this stuff. And that's how you grow membership, that's how you grow interest in the sciences, and that's how children learn how to behave and interact with a cultural center like that. So we're hoping to do more in that space.
We have a variety of programmatic efforts as well as some physical amenities in our building that really make sure that what we have to offer is available for anyone and everyone. So the sort of flagship after-school program that we have is our STEM Accelerators program, and this is a program that we've now run for a little over 10 years. It has constantly evolved as we have heard the needs of our students changing and evolving, to the point where now the students who are coming and participating, not only do they receive programming from 5th grade until high school graduation, but along that time period they have after-school programming, summer programming, snacks, meals provided, transportation provided, family memberships provided, and they also have opportunities for some post-secondary exploration, including some college counseling and support. All of the students have access to summer program scholarships, and the high schoolers have opportunities for job training and employment with us as well. So really building out this continuum of making sure that everybody has a place and a way that they can engage over their evolving time with us.
Summer's a really exciting time at Discovery. I'm gonna go a little off book here, Sarah, but because we have rising kindergartners taking our programming, and we have those pre-certified educators from the university, they are teaching in a peer-to-peer kind of capacity. They're working with the counselors and the CITs. So there's this, the word is continuum that I use. I just feel like it's connected. It's not a line, it's not linear, because the idea is they're hoping that folks will stay in the area and they'll be able to then pass that benefit along and keep that in, make sure that we are, growing Fairfield County in a intentional and vital way. So this is really exciting stuff. And last year was our biggest year ever. And then this year
Has already started to surpass
we're
that.
selling out programs already, and we opened up what,
1 week ago.
A week ago. Yeah. So it's just been we know we're doing something right, but we just need to keep moving forward and try and keep engaging folks, and we're hoping that we can continue to build capacity.
Yes, and one of the other efforts that we're doing to make that happen is making sure that everybody's able to see themselves represented in the work that we do. So our Mighty STEM Girls program is designed to not only have hands-on activities for students to try the science, but also highlights role models from the fields that we're studying so that students can really see themselves. They can see somebody who looks like them, who comes from a background like theirs, and how they have pursued these careers so that they can be inspired to do the same. Similarly, we offer our I Can Be Me sensory-friendly spectacular days. These are the days when we tell everybody the doors are open for free to anybody who identifies as having any kind of special need and their caretakers. And we make sure that we make modifications to the things we're offering, like volume on our shows, so that small changes like that suddenly make it possible for so many more people to engage with the work that we are doing.
Silent planetarium shows or planetarium shows turned up to 11, right? For the hearing impaired, we have all different opportunities that day, and we're super transparent about our signage and everything to make sure if you push this button, it's going to make a noise. Just so you know. You know, we try to turn on and off anything that does that automatically. It's been a wonderful, really vibrant days that we have. So we're hoping to add more of those in the coming years too.
Yes. We have our STEM Engagement Fund where we support field trips for schools, and we know we're not always the cost prohibitive piece for them. More often than not, it's the transportation.
It's the busing.
Being able to get themselves to us is the problem. And so we have this fund where we're able to not only provide the field trips, but also cover those costs of transportation for schools that otherwise wouldn't be able to come see us. So again, making the space available to all. Similarly, we have a couple of other programs that we can go into detail if anybody has questions, but I want to really speak to the physical assets in our building.
The Recentering Center, I think, is one of our biggest ones too. So that's available all the time, at any time. And that is a sensory safe space with ambient lighting, ambient noise, and individual play and exploration opportunities so that kids can come back to center, any guest can come back to center and go back out and try again, because sometimes that's all it takes. And I've been a mom with a screaming toddler before, and you really feel like you need to leave because everyone's staring at you. But we're a children's museum. No, you don't. So we want folks to not feel like they have to leave, but to have a place to go and collect yourself and come back out. The feedback we have gotten on this simple space has been absolutely unmatched. This is one of our most vibrant places in the whole center.
Absolutely, and in addition to spaces like that, we also have some other dedicated family spaces. Yes, I'm
Do
sorry.
you have a picture of that?
I
We
can
can
certainly
send
try
some
to
out.
pull one before we leave. I don't have one embedded in the slides, but yes, I do have some pictures. We also have some other dedicated family spaces. When we reopened, we made efforts to redesign some of our spaces, so we now have a family lounge, family restroom, and some other spaces that just really
Nursing
make
room.
sure everybody has a way to stay with us as long as they want to engage.
A lot of it comes from us. A lot of it comes from experience. A lot of it comes from, I was a mother with a 5-year-old and a nursing infant, and one of them wanted to climb the walls and the other one needed me to hold him, and I was walking around a museum, nursing a child. And the first thing I did when I came back was that we need a nursing room and we need a place to sit in every gallery. Every gallery. And we even have a charging station. Like, come on, let's make this for parents too, right? Exactly. You're gonna be like, oh, I don't want to go to the museum. They're gonna be crazy. Let them be crazy, and you can sit. That's what we're here for. So we're really trying to lean into that intergenerational piece as well.
Yes, and one other thing I want to highlight is our book nook. This was a project actually supported by the Bridgeport Rotary. We were able to open a little literacy station in our Science at Play area, which is mostly geared towards our youngest friends, but with the books, anyone and everyone can engage, again, in a lot of intergenerational efforts. In addition to having books on every topic, we also have books in multiple languages, books in Braille, and some read aloud tablets. So people can choose to read along with the story digitally or even just have it read to them.
If you don't know a word, you can push it and it'll sound it out for you, which I think I like that it doesn't just say it, it's awesome.
And this literacy piece is really key to the science work that we do, because there's a lot of research that actually indicates that, especially in early childhood, imaginative play and literacy skills both go hand in hand in developing future scientific interest and engagement. So we've really made efforts to be very research driven and data driven in the decisions that we're making about the things we're bringing into this space. When we have people who say that they have a need that isn't being met or don't feel represented, we hear that feedback and we make sure to build it into the next phase of what we do. So truly, this is a space where we can say STEAM for all.
Yeah, we based everything on personal experience. That's what it should be, right? That's we always think that. We think it. Let's see, what do we have here? Oh, so all of our, yes, so these are just some of the things that we talked about. I'm going to send this slideshow. If I send it to you, Rob, would you mind sending it out to the group? Just so that you can see some of these things. But a lot of this stuff you'll find in the collateral that we've left sitting there too in our annual report. Yeah, you can take a look here. But as you can see, our sponsorship efforts, our equitable programming opportunities, all of that is based on what we know it takes to actually run the program at a flat run rate, meaning it'll take care of itself. And then we are looking towards sustainability, which is the third piece of my strategic plan that I enacted when I came in. And we're working to be a self-sustaining and try and keep that ratio. We're looking at right now probably somewhere between 65 and 70 to 35 to 30 donated, income, support income, and versus revenue. Which is the sweet spot for a nonprofit, but we're looking to raise up that self-sustaining piece a little bit more because we want everyone to know that when you do, invest in a program that we do, we're finding a way to grow it. It's not just a status quo. We don't believe in status quo. Much to the chagrin of a lot of our science folks. I don't like status quo. I like change.
Anything else that you wanted to share?
No,
Should I
is this
take
the
some
last?
questions?
This is the.
I've got a little thank you. And you can see just some of the cute kids in our programs. These were students in our summer programs last year. Actually, all three of these students have participated in various programs of ours for multiple years.
We've known them since they were wee.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, they're so cute. And we have the best jobs in the world. Our backdrop is the joy of children. And they go crazy when they get there, especially any field trips after March. They've checked out. It's summer. It might as well be summer. But the truth is, you walk through the hallways and children are laughing and they're, look what I did, and it's really, it sounds so hokey, but it actually is true. And every day we're like, you can't not laugh. You could be so mad and something happened, or our line item in the government budget or whatever, and then you go out there and there's kids making helicopters and be like, look, launching a rocket. I'm like, all right, this is worth it. Okay, it's really, really fantastic. And the more we see it, the more we know we're on the right track. We know you have to do it to learn it, and we're the place that you can do that, because not everybody can have the newest and best labs every year. You can't do that. Not even New Canaan can do that. Nobody can do that, right? But we can if we iterate in that way, because that's what museums do. So we're hoping we can supply that and support as we move forward and make it a place where grandparents and grandchildren can come, and there's an intergenerational piece for everybody. We have archival exhibits. We have art exhibits. It's not just rockets and planetariums and all of that. We have a little bit of everything within that STEAM realm, and it's exciting, and we really have awesome jobs.
Yes.
So we are opening up for questions. Yes.
So you talk about STEAM, I grew up, STEM was the acronym, so I'm curious, when did arts get integrated into that?
Arts are integrated into almost everything we do, and I think that's a really good question, and I know Sarah has.
So
she got her master's in exactly the question you're asking.
So we had it as sort of STEM because that was the buzzword for a very long time. But when we were founded, we were the Museum of Art, Science, and Industry. And art has always been near and dear to our hearts. We have little pockets of art galleries throughout the space, as well as our main space on the main level dedicated to bringing in art.
I know.
And so this is something that has never really strayed from what we do. It just dropped out of the name. But really, when you think about STEAM versus STEM, like Erika said, the arts are in everything. When you think about somebody who's an engineer and they're making a product that they want to put out for sale, if it doesn't look appealing, if the packaging doesn't grab your attention, people aren't going to buy it. And so art is still an essential piece of the work that we are doing and training these students to take forth into the world themselves.
The consumer eats with their eyes first. Everybody knows that, but it doesn't just apply to restaurants and food. It applies to everything you're consuming. And so applying that to an educational effort, especially in math and engineering, where you have your most, people digging in their heels the most, what an awesome way to do it. And again, they don't even know that they just learned an engineering principle.
But thank you, it's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for coming. They've agreed to stay after to take questions if they went over, so please feel free to come up and ask questions, okay?
Thank you.